It all started 10 years ago, on the day Valerie spent with her mom at work. In the next office, Val met a woman who worked for Columbia Land Trust. She spent the afternoon there, learning all about what the Land Trust did and what they stood for. Val was so inspired that a few months later, she returned with her saved allowance and donated all of it to become Columbia Land Trust's youngest member. That day, Val planted a seed which would someday grow into a forest. Around the same time, a man named Ray Hickey had decided that he didn't want to see the beauty of the Columbia River ruined by overdevelopment.
Started out as a deckhand on a tug and worked his way up to owner of one of the largest tugboat companies in the world.
He recognized we had a pretty incredible thing here in the Pacific Northwest with this gorgeous river system available to the people that lived along its banks, to use it for commerce, to use it for recreation.
He cared about our environment. He did things in Tidewater that were over the edge. You know, they're very forward-looking as far as environmental safety and so forth.
Ray voluntarily decided to start building double-hull petroleum barges. Those aren't required until 2015. And yet Ray started back in the early 90s, and we continue that today, and in fact we handle 100% of our petroleum products in double-hull barges.
He loved the river.
When Ray began work on the river, it was 1951, and without many of the dams we have today, it was a wild place with plenty of rocks, rapids, and fishermen. As time went by, he saw development creeping in on this special place, and that drove Ray to take action. He purchased a farm at the gateway to the gorge and donated it to Columbia Land Trust. Today this land has become part of the Steigerwald Lake National Wildlife Refuge and will be forever conserved as a vital habitat and as a place where people can go to experience nature. Later that year, the Land Trust honored both Ray and Valerie for their acts. Val's donation was small compared to Ray's, but her spirit inspired him. After the ceremony, Ray quietly told the Land Trust that he would donate $50,000 on the condition that they could raise the same amount from others.
That's typical of Ray Hickey. Ray inspired people, and he was inspired by events and people and things. And Ray knew that he could encourage people, not necessarily by giving a lot of money up front, but to saying, hey, I will match money.
Suddenly, Val's small seed had sprouted, and it was up to the Land Trust to make sure it kept growing. They exceeded Ray's goal that year, and every year after for a decade. In that time, Ray saw the Land Trust grow into a nationally recognized organization and a model for other land trusts around the country. Columbia Land Trust has 4 major initiatives: protecting Northwest forests, saving our family farms and ranches, conserving and restoring vital habitats, and preserving and promoting nature close to home. One project that embodies the ideas of nature close to home is the Backyard Habitat Certification Program. In just 3 years, it has enabled hundreds of homeowners to convert their yards into native habitats and inspired countless others to the possibilities in their own yards.
One of the big reasons why I wanted to do this to my front yard was to get my own hands dirty, but to show my kids that they can get their hands dirty too, and to grow some of the native plants that normally and naturally grow in the Pacific Northwest.
These landscapes are connected, even though we have a line here with a street in the middle of it. That landscape on the residential side still has the same kind of soil, still has the same kind of aspect, still has the same kinds of, many of the same plants that grew there historically.
This is my garden. Everything that you can see was covered with blackberry. I live on a creek, and this drainage goes on and on and on all the way to the Willamette, and what I do here has an impact downstream. What people do upstream has an impact on me.
In addition to stewarding their local environment, one of the requirements of the certification is that members reach out to encourage others to become stewards. Every backyard habitat becomes its own seed.
I hope to bring more people into this kind of fold, so more people will sort of step out of the usual grass and horticultural plants and look to the value of some of the native plants to bring more birds and more insects and more of the native wildlife back into an urban or suburban environment like this.
I have been very impressed with how well Columbia Land Trust has been able to walk the talk of helping people in Portland connect these really important habitats. And they started small and they've grown over time, and as they have increased their capacity, they just do better and better work.
We're preserving land, we're preserving the future for our citizens. And there aren't many people doing it in the way and with the dedication that the Land Trust does. That's a great organization. Ray recognized that. He felt like that was one of his best efforts, was what he could do to help the Land Trust. And the Land Trust has proven that over the years. Ray Hickey believed in it, and he put his efforts there, and I think you should too.